This is your guide to reciprocals. The reciprocal of a number means that you need to do 1 over that number, or alternatively 1 divided by that number. Here's some examples. So 4 questions here that we're going to have a little look at. So for the first one, 1 over or 1 divided by the number, well, that simply means the reciprocal of 3 would actually be 1 over 3. For 5, the reciprocal, so 1 over that number, is just 1 over 5. So this is known as the reciprocal. For decimals, we'd do the same thing. 1 over the number, so 1 over 0.4. Now we're not going to leave this one as 1 over 0.4 because we don't like to have decimals in fractions. The easiest way of stopping there being a decimal at the bottom of this fraction is to actually multiply 0.4 by 10 to give us 4. But to keep this as an equivalent fraction, we'd also have to multiply the top by 10 as well to give us 10. So 2 equivalent fractions. Now 10 over 4, we wouldn't leave it like that. We'd simplify to give us 5 over 2. So the reciprocal of 0.4 is the fraction 5 over 2. The same applies to 0.7. We start off by doing 1 over 0.7. We don't like having a decimal inside a fraction, so we times the bottom number by 10 to give us 7. But to keep the fraction equivalent, we do the same to the top, so 1 times 10 gives us 10. Now 10 over 7 doesn't simplify, so we'd leave it like that. When it comes to fractions, we do the same thing. However, we don't like writing 1 over a half, because that just looks a little bit weird, having a fraction in a fraction. So what we actually consider is we need to do 1 divided by a half, because it means the same thing, 1 divided by or 1 over. Well, if you cast your mind back to dividing with fractions, when I divide by a fraction, we can use the little trick of keeping the first number the same, flip the second fraction, and change the divide to a times. So 1 times 2 over 1, so 1 multiplied by this, just gives us 2 over 1, or 2 divided by 1. If you notice, the only thing that's happened with a fraction is it's been flipped upside down. There's one tiny little extra step on this question. We wouldn't normally leave it as 2 over 1. 2 divided by 1 actually is just 2. For this fraction a little bit easier, we can use the trick that we noticed here. The reciprocal of 3 over 5 just flips the fraction upside down. Here we've got a mixed number. We can't actually find the reciprocal easily of a mixed number. So the first thing we'd actually do is change that mixed number into an improper fraction. Well, as an improper fraction, 1½ is the same as 3 over 2, or 3 halves. There's 2 halves in a whole thing, plus this extra half here, so 3 halves. To then find the reciprocal of 3 over 2, simply flips the fraction upside down. So the reciprocal of 3 over 2 is 2 over 3.